Hi, this is the second video about the assessment for the change course. Um, so, in the first assignment, you identified changed opportunities, and in this second assignment, you basically just write on from that first assignment. So let's open this file with all your headings. The first part here is exactly the same as you had in your first assignment, so we sort of already talked about that. Now, when we get down here to point number 5, this is where you need to, this is your next heading in your change plan. You need to basically convince people in your organization, whatever organization you focus on, that change is needed. You need to give them a good reason why they should change. And generally speaking, people don't like change. They know what they got. It might not be all that great, and but they still an uncertain future is generally not that appealing. So a lot of people sort of resist change. And there are a number of strategies that are presented in this course that can sort of help get people on board to motivate them. And you should talk about some of these strategies in this on-free section. Um, for example, whenever you mention the word change, people often fear redundancies. They think of rust-belt industries. They think of guillotines hanging over people's heads. It's not a pretty picture that often emerges when you mention the word change. But reality of change is that when you move from one point to another, from old to new, that basically is the same thing as innovation. So you could argue that you are basically, this is not really a change plan, it's an innovation plan. You're taking the old and you're turning it into something better, whatever that might be that you have chosen to focus on. Now, when you talk about innovation, people tend to be a whole lot more positive about change or innovation. They think about Silicon Valley, they think about cool companies, they think about Tesla, they think about Facebook, they think about Google. Um, that's innovation. Um, that's sort of like the images that springs to mind when you talk about innovation. So maybe talk about innovation rather than change when you focus write this section. Um, Now, in this section, just as before, it would be a very good idea if you could keep these subheadings here, or use these points here as subheadings, and just make sure you address each and every point uh, in this sentence, um, and the same for the next sentence, etc. So here in the unfree section, you need to convince stakeholders that change is needed. You need to basically plan for having a meeting, and you need to actually have that meeting where you will sit down with people that will be affected by your recommended changes. So you don't have to actually do the changes for your change plan. You just have to plan for them. But in this particular meeting, you have to basically convince people that change is required. Um, there's a number of ways in which you can do that, but you must have a meeting. So if you focus your change plan here at TAFE, you can have this meeting in class, sit down with other students and talk about what you believe might be improved in regards to learning at TAFE. If you're an online student, you might want to have this meeting with other online students. And there is a forum in the Learn subject you can use for just that. Um, if you so there's a number of options. So we yeah, you basically just gotta pick one of those. Um, you need to develop a brief education and communication plan. So, for example, that's just a plan for when this meeting will be held, and just make sure uh, have a small plan in this section. So basically, in this section, you write uh, what you did for the meeting or what you planned for this meeting. And in assignment 3, you will actually do the meeting and you will be evaluated or assessed on how you actually undertook that particular meeting. Um, Sorry, I'm jumping a bit here in the points. If we just go back to point A here, 5A, profile the organization's culture and readiness for change. Some organizations are very open for change. For example, if you find a company with young entrepreneurs, with a lot of some entrepreneur hub, you will see a lot of motivation for change in such a organizational setting. Whereas if you focus on a company where there's a lot of like baby boomers, you might find, or older people, you might find that they will be a bit less willing to change, especially if it's about introducing new and advanced technologies. So that's sort of what we talk about with culture and readiness for organizational change. So you need to sort of assess that. Um, it also talk here about including a risk assessment table. And there is such a risk assessment table in your course materials. I think that's in the last session. Have a look at that table and do something very similar to that. Um, and on you go. You work your way through these points. Uh, So I guess your education and communication plan will cover the two meetings, assignment 3, which is the first meeting, and assignment 4, which is the second meeting. So that's part of the planning you do in this section. And then afterwards, you actually go ahead and conduct these meetings. Um, if you look down at point 6, the change program. This needs to be the biggest section of your report. You need in quite a lot of detail to explain uh, what needs to be done to basically fix the problems that you have earlier identified. Here, when it says you need to use a Gantt chart, well, make sure you do just that. If you don't know what a Gantt chart is, you probably do, but just Google that and you'll find out very quickly. Um, Now, in this section here, as I mentioned, you need a great deal of detail or a fair bit of detail. For example, I am not a good chef. As a matter of fact, I'm no chef at all. But I'm not very good at cooking food. Things often gets a bit messy and the food doesn't taste all that great when I cook. However, if I follow a good recipe, a recipe that says step 1 do this, step 2 do that, step 3 do a third thing, then I can cook a well-tasting meal because I got a clear plan to follow. And that is basically what you are doing in this section. Just for a change within a business, you need to explain who should do what and when, and sort of be very clear about that. Um, a lot of change plans are never implemented for the very reason that uh, there might be some good goals of the plan, but no one really knows who's supposed to do what and when. And for that reason, nothing ever happens. So pay attention to this section. And on you go. Simply work your way down through all these points. Make sure you do exactly what it says. You can always do more, but never do less. And you'll be fine. As long as you follow the points, this is actually quite easy. Hope you enjoyed this video.